Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Truth About Marketing. I got my good buddy here, Jordan Jensen, with me. He's a co-founder and managing partner of Neverland Country Club. Jordan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot. Excited to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, before we even get going, I always put people in the hot seat in the very beginning. I'm going to ask you some questions, kind of get the conversation jogged, and it's just rapid fire. So I'm going to shoot and you just answer. All right?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So favorite business or marketing technology?
For us, Shopify. I mean, for a couple of morons that didn't know what they were doing, we started this thing. Shopify gave us the tools we needed and allows us to kind of grow, and they grow with us as we do it.
Nice. Favorite social channel?
Instagram. I don't use anything else.
Least favorite social channel?
Facebook or TikTok. One got too old for me, and the other one I'm too old for.
Very good, very good. What's a brand that you love?
Cancel me, man. Tesla. I was an early adopter. I love their products. I love what they're doing, the automotive industry. I know it's not popular or in vogue right now, but I've owned a couple and they are amazing cars.
Right on. Okay, a brand that needs help, which could have been tough
National
with too.
The National Basketball Association. It's funny. I almost went with Tesla again because of what's going on right now, but I couldn't do it to my guy Elon. Yeah, the NBA. It doesn't appeal to a wide variety of people. I think they're stuck in some weird contracts, some weird things. I love the brand. I used to be a huge NBA fan. I think it's getting difficult to follow.
Right on. Favorite influencer or business leader?
James DeMullen, the School of Hard Rocks guy. He's half my age. He's got huge balls. He goes out and gets to meet some of the most influential people in the world. If you're not following him or watching those interviews, you learn a lot. You get a lot of takeaways from him. I love the kid.
Very good. And then brand or person you'd like to work with the most?
Brand wise, anybody who wants to turn their boring corporate swag or their organization swag and turn it around and make it look cool, that's what we do. Pie in the sky, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Everything he touches turns to gold. But I guess something that's more in our reach right now, any tour player that needs a deal and wants to wear some cool stuff, we will make you the best looking tour player on your tour, and we'll figure out a way to turn that into some money for both of us.
Got to start getting these college aces, bro. With these NIL deals, get them early.
Well, the problem is anybody who's a guaranteed PGA guy already has more money than we're going to shell out right now. So we got to figure out. We got to find a happy balance. Maybe a
Very good.
35-year-old journeyman who might peak, and win a tournament.
All right. Well, so now that we got that out of the way, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got here, where you are today, and kind of how you got to starting Neverland Country Club.
Yeah, so one of my business partners is a childhood friend of mine. We've been friends since we were 10 years old. And during COVID, we both work in corporate America and we were kind of limited. So we were spending a lot of time on the golf course and just saying, we got to find something that's ours. We got to do something. We've always worked for other people and done that thing. And so we kind of came up with, let's start a brand, let's do something cool around golf, have some fun with it, and just kind of expected some mailbox money.
Mhm.
Well, our third partner is a graphic designer by trade. We went to him kind of for advice and say, how do we do this? What do we need to do? And he's like, let me see your business plan. And he goes, here's what you do. I'm your third partner and I'll handle the design and we'll go from there. And so did that. It kind of turned into, us doing some things just around golf apparel. The story really took a big turn in our second year, which was 2022. The Saguaros, the Scottsdale Saguaros, a local charity organization, pretty big group of guys, came to us and said, hey, we love what you're doing, but can you design a polo for us?
Nice.
And a light bulb went off. Why are we forcing all these big companies that have tons of buying power into wearing a generic polo and putting their logo on it? Why aren't we designing polos for their company?
Right.
And the Saguaros didn't know it, but they gave us an idea that is currently putting the majority of our revenue on the books.
Very good. Hey, sometimes it's like that, right? The market and the demand, it's there and you don't even realize it. So that's pretty awesome story, or I guess founder story. But
Yeah.
so when it comes to, again, Neverland Country Club, right? There's golf, apparel, how'd you come up with that and why country club?
So Sid and I, that I mentioned, my childhood friend, we're both members of the same country club. And it was a nice day. We'd had a stretch of cold days, which is rare here. And both of us let's get out. Let's go to the course, and we get there. It's like, let's have a beer before we go play. So we're sitting on the patio and one of the older members, if you've been to Mason Country Club, the 10th tee box is at the bar, basically.
Right.
And one of the older members makes the turn and he sees us having a beer. Hey, you guys going to play today? Yeah, we're just having a beer and hanging out. We're going to go play. Well, 18 green is right by the patio for the bar too. Yeah. So he finishes on 18 and we're still drinking. And he walks up and he says, man, you guys have to have the worst case of Peter Pan syndrome I've ever seen. We kind of look at him, Peter Pan, he's like, the boys that would never grow up. So right then was like, oh man, we got to do something with that and incorporate that. So we came up with Neverland, and then we added the country club as kind of, we want to make it a place. And now you've been to our clubhouse. We have a
Yeah.
clubhouse. We're just waiting to find the land to buy the golf course, is what we always say.
Yeah, I thought I might go watch the U of A game there later.
Yeah. Good luck. You got to figure out how to use our TVs. I'm not putting that on. But yeah, we just kind of evolved into that. And we liked the thought of Neverland Country Club. And people can say, where is it? Well, it's in Scottsdale, Arizona. Oh, come to the clubhouse and
Right.
maybe we'll get a course one day. But just kind of turned
Yeah.
into a joke. And it's kind of a cool thing. We shorten it now to Neverland. It's kind of the NVRLND. We don't use the country club as much, but it's something that if you want to look back at our history, the country club was a really cool part of it.
Right on, right on. And so once you guys came up with that and everything, like what were your steps in getting going? I mean, like right now, obviously, like direct to consumer, e-commerce, all that stuff's gotten very big. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse with the people that I've talked to. It's like, yeah, in one breath, there's so many resources and things available to you. It's like, you can spin up a Shopify store, you can get a distributor, you can get all these things, but it's like your competition, because it's so easy, is all up there. So like how did you guys get going, and what kind of is differentiated right now?
Yeah, so you know how when you buy a car, you start to see that car everywhere? Like you think, man, I've never seen this new Infinity, and then you drive it off the lot and every other car at the stoplights, your new Infinity.
Right.
It's kind of like that. We thought, let's make some cool designs. We've got an in-house designer. We'll throw in some Instagram ads out there, and we'll just get some mailbox money. And once you do that and you start to really kind of take note of the competition, I mean, there's 5,000 golf brands that you've never seen or heard of.
Right.
They're being successful. And, so our first steps were, once we brought Nick on as our designer and started doing some in-house design, was, hey, let's launch 5 or 6 polos, 5 or 6 hats. Let's push some ads out. Let's see if we can gain some traction that way. We did pretty well. As we've got a great network of friends, some of the most supportive people on the planet. And they pushed us, and they told about, they shared the posts and everything. And we did okay. And we started to kind of move that. And then it fell into the deal where we talked about with the Saguaros. Our steps were sourcing. How do we get good factory contracts to where we can guarantee delivery times, where we know the quality of the product,
Right.
where, all of those things kind of factor into it. And that's trial and error. I mean, honestly, unless you're willing to jump on a flight and go overseas and go to Vietnam or Bangladesh or China and really sit down and meet with these people, you're going to stub your toe. You're going to order an extra large that fits like a child's small. And, you're going to order a large that fits like a bathrobe. It's the way it is. And you've got to tweak it. You've got to build good partnerships. I think that where a lot of people fall short is they go for the cheapest or the fastest. And where we really dug in is we've taken the failures and then gone back to the same manufacturers that we have relationships with and said, this didn't work. Let's tweak this, or let's refine that. And they have enough people that they're manufacturing things for where they can say, hey, this company did this and it really helped. So they're able to suggest things to help us. And that's a true partnership. That collaboration,
Right.
Being an ocean away or a world away is difficult to manage sometimes, but when you do it right, I think it's paid off for itself, 10 times over.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, you talked about network and stuff, and I think there's just such a plethora in Scottsdale of people that, are trying things, have tried things, entrepreneurs, like, and again, I talk about this all the time, like, it doesn't bother, people kind of get this persona about Scottsdale about, oh, like, bunch want to be this, want to be that. Well, yeah, people want to be something, right? Like they're trying, like I've lived and been around a lot of places where it's like people just kind of sit in their, again, like you said, working for somebody, got a regular job. Yeah, it's safe. And yeah, you got some security, but the idea is this is something you're trying, and who knows, it could blow up, and with a little bit of support and the right people or the right partnership, like you talked about, it could take off. So, let's talk a little bit more about that as well. Cause from that perspective, you guys peeled off, started this. I'm sure there wasn't like fundraising or whatever. You guys probably put your money together and did it, right?
Yep.
So what was it like getting that off the ground from the financial perspective of it? I mean, are you leaning into partnerships? You talked a little bit about network. What's like the most important part as you're continuing to grow?
I mean, the most important part for us as we continue to grow is the networking. I mean, we go to a lot of networking events. We do a lot of charity events. We have some amazing partners. I mentioned the Saguaros, FTK for the kids. They're fantastic. A bunch of different partnerships in that aspect where, excuse me, these charity organizations are running these events. We're able to keep their costs low, but give them products to where they can run a first class event and charge a good amount for a foursome so that their charity is raising some money. So from those, it's naturally grown word of mouth. Hey, I saw your stuff at
Right.
at the FDK tournament. I loved it. Where can I get more? Those kind of things have really worked out. From a financial standpoint, all of us really took this as, let's do this a day at a time, a launch at a time. Let's launch 4 polos, 4 hats for spring of 2022. And
Yep.
let's, when we've sold enough to bring in summer, we'll bring in summer. And if summer comes in December, then that's when we'll have summer.
Right.
It's worked out. I mean, to say we're fortunate is not, it's a under exaggeration. We've been so blessed and fortunate to get the type of people to help us out and give us advice along the way. And as far as finances go, I mean, we've moved into a brand new space, and we did make a little bit of equity available for some partners, so we're not
Okay.
100% the 3 of us anymore, but still the controlling majority. And really what we wanted was to have this warehouse space and a place to entertain clients, a place to
Right.
hold events of our own. And it's really worked out. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've had great events here since we opened this in November. And just leads more back to the community. Bring your people by. You think we might be able to collaborate on something? Let's talk about it. Let's do it. I mean, some of your guests have been people we've collaborated with and done events with, and it all goes back to your network. The old, not what you know, but who you know. I've learned so much from people who 5 years ago were strangers to me, and now are people that are can have the keys to my house. So
Right.
it's really cool the way things have happened. And our story is a story of sticking to what we know, never biting off more than we can chew. I mean, the whole thing is more than we can chew, but we figure it out. But really, it all goes down to our network. I mean, we're some of the most fortunate guys in the world to have the friends and the resources that we have, whether it's through our country club, previous business collection, business experiences, and things, or just friends and family. I mean, it's been amazing to see what's happened.
And do are you trying in this moment now, as you said, maybe we'll take on a little bit of money? Like, what are kind of the process or steps, right? Because I think most people, they start online or they're selling to, like, again, like you said, friends, network, kind of locally, whatever. But then what are kind of the natural next steps? Are you trying to do distribution? Are you trying to get into golf courses? Like, what's kind of the next step there?
So for us, we kicked the tires pretty hard on the distribution and the golf stuff, and we met with some really, really big retailers.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, their terms, and I understand why they are that way. But if we were going to work with a Dick's or a PGA Tour Superstore, they want a certain amount of product, and then they want the ability to return that. And as we
Right.
were growing early on, when we had those conversations, that return could have put us out of business.
Yep.
So we weren't willing to play on their terms. Not to say we aren't now, not to say we won't be in the future, but when we really pushed that avenue, we had to be a little bit cautious. So something we were always open to. And then the other thing
Yeah.
is, aside from like Troon, most of these golf courses are fairly independently run. They have a smaller management company. Now, if a Troon comes and says, hey, we want to put you in 500 golf shops, no brainer. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But managing 5 or 10 accounts that might order 20 shirts
Yeah.
a month, not
Doesn't
really
scale.
worth the returns, the customer service. It just adds a lot that we can do direct to consumer ourselves. And the hit you take in your margins when you're doing the wholesale deals, unless it's a big deal, again, just maybe more headaches than it's worth. Again, not to say we won't be doing that in 6 months or a year, not something we would ever rule out, but something that for right now, not really in our wheelhouse, not really exactly where we want to be. So we
Right.
kind of push that. As far as money goes, anyone who's ever started a business that starts to see success, your friends who maybe doubted you or maybe didn't buy in from day one, when you start to have some success, everyone wants to buy a
Right.
piece. And
Yeah.
and it's always, why didn't you tell me you were doing this? It's like, well, everybody knew we were doing this, man. It was all over our socials, and
Yep.
we were, nobody wanted to be with us when we were hauling boxes out to the 14th tee box at McCormick Ranch to do a table sale, but
Right.
everyone wants to be with you when your website's putting up numbers.
Absolutely.
So you've got to be careful with that too. The partners that you bring on, the people that you bring on, they need to understand that it's your vision. I'm always willing to listen to feedback, even from people who aren't financially
Sure.
vested. But at the end of the day, our vision, we're willing to succeed and ride it to the highest highs, and we're willing to crash and burn because it's ours and it's what we want to do and it's how we want to do it. And I don't think any of us are willing to leverage enough equity to lose control. Everybody's
Yeah.
got that payout number, right? But we're nowhere near there. So for us, it's about, any partner would have to come on with the mindset that they're there to help, and the right attitude that they're not going to come and change our vision, change our principles.
Yep. Makes sense. And I mean, I think also too, what you have to look at is with the big box stores and everything else, and like the ability to grow and the funding and this and that, like you see so many brands that lose their identity or lose like that, what made it special. Right. And again, we know a bunch of golf brands like again, from the bad birdies to, you name it, the idea, like for me, Neverland, it's a very different thing again. And you guys found a niche there where it's like, hey, we could do custom stuff for your events, right? Like we want you to stand out, right? It's not a matter of, oh, we want you to wear what our brand dictates or our style dictates, which I think is really cool. There's something to be said for about customization today, right? And being able to tell a story. And again, fun polos, prints, all that are fun, but the idea that you can create something and then tell a story. So like the saguaros, you're like, oh no, we got these custom made. You should check out Neverland, right? Like that helps tremendously. So
Exactly.
completely get that for sure.
Our whole push with the corporate stuff, with the charity stuff, is create something you want to wear. I play in a lot of charity tournaments. I'm sure you do too.
Yep.
You get that bag and it's got a cheaper polo with some realtor, no offense to realtors, some realtor's logo on it, and it's all right. This is nice. Goodwill pile. You want
Right.
to create something that it's like, I can't wait for the FTK event next year because the shirt I got last year was awesome. I can't wait to see my shirt this year, my hat.
Yep.
And then we kind of turned that into doing the tournament in a box where we have packages, so you can get a hat, polo, a quarter zip, and a towel that arrives in a box that is by size, so they get this awesome box that's logoed out with the charity event. Open it up, and all these items that match the theme. So it's not a purple hat that some that a beer brand donated, and a
Right.
blue shirt that a realtor donated, and a yellow towel that a moving company donated. It's all themed, and we can put those sponsors logos on it, but everything makes sense and everything works together, and everybody leaves there with something that's not going to go to Goodwill. It's going to stay in your closet. It's going to be something you're going to wear again.
Yep, absolutely. I think too, what's cool is, you guys are making it unique to like an experience almost too. So I say this all the time about like marketing, especially if it's like direct to consumer or people that are trying to, they want to Instagrammable moments is what I call them, right? So it's like the idea, like you get a polo, you get a hat. Melon's pretty good about it, right? With their hats, you get this nice box, you open it up, makes you feel good about spending $50 on a hat, right? Like, so I think that's really important to experiential marketing where, you're creating an experience for people, which I think Neverland really does. But what else? I mean, so right now you're doing polos, hoodies, hats. Is there like anything else that you guys are kind of trying to mess with or I guess trying out, if you will, experimenting?
So really successful hats, polos, quarter zips, hoodies, and then like towels, head covers. We do a great job with all that stuff. It's our bread and butter. It's as easy as it gets. We've recently came out with a new T-shirt, great fabric, great fit. Kind of doing now. We did like funny little sayings like "chicks dig my short game" and stuff like that. And then it's got like the vintage feel. It says like Neverland Country Club, Scottsdale, Arizona on it. So kind of cool things like that. Dipping our toes into that a little bit, and then our long term plan, which long term is coming up this fall, is athleisure. So leggings, joggers, some shorts, some sweats, different things to kind of differentiate us and keep growing our SKUs. That's the thing, is keeping the website fresh. How many times do you want to go to one website and see the same 25 things?
Right.
You've got to keep it fresh. You've got to keep it growing and keep doing that. The custom stuff puts food on the table, but the website, we want to grow and catch it up because
Yep.
our e-commerce stuff isn't near as big as the corporate custom stuff that we're doing right now. But we're
Yep.
not ever going to give up on the e-commerce stuff. We have a high quality product. We're able to deliver it at an affordable price, especially compared to some of our competitors. And I think we do some really good stuff, some really cool things. We get a lot of great feedback. We have a lot of repeat customers. And as we grow the SKUs and continue to add more stuff, hopefully we're a big clothing company that can handle just about anything,
Yeah.
someday.
And so tell me, these are all good stories and positives and moving forward. Tell me, you got to have a story about something that didn't go right or didn't go well. So shoot with that.
We got a couple, and they happened within about 60 days of each other. And I thought we were done. We were maybe a year and a half old, and we had a big property management company in Phoenix order in a couple hundred polos, and we didn't double check the tech pack. We didn't double check the measurements, and their logo on the sleeve was like this big, and it looked awful.
Oh, no.
And it was so bad I wouldn't even deliver them. I told them, you don't want these. We're not doing it. We're going to redo them, or we'll give you a refund, whatever it is. And thankfully, they were great guys. So eventually, allowed us to remake them. But then we had to go out of pocket for that. At the
Right.
time, we were operating on a pretty small operating budget. And at the same time, we had a special event for a charity organization that had ordered a couple hundred hats, and they didn't come in on time for the event. So we had to eat them, and it was, sorry, they're not here. I know they were event specific. And, we learned our lesson on delivery dates and timelines for sure.
Yep.
but I thought we were done. And then we had a pretty good sized customer that does a sports drink, and he came to us and gave us about a $30,000 order that came out of the blue. We weren't even expecting it. We weren't talking about it, and it was within about 3 weeks of each other, all those things, and we were able to turn it around and save the company. But there were a couple nights I remember talking to my wife, being, I don't know if we can keep doing this. I
Yeah.
None of us want to reinvest. We've kind of run to the end of our rope. We just stubbed our toe twice with huge potential repeat clients, and it was touch and go. But thankfully, again, you treat people right, they come back and they're repeat customers. We did right by both of them. They both bought again since then. But yeah, that was certainly the scariest moments. And then move it into the building when your overhead is a couple of air conditioned storage units, and then you take on a 3,000 square foot office and warehouse in North Scottsdale, where real estate's not cheap.
Yep.
For us, that was kind of a move that we all had to do a gut check and say, are we willing to put in the time? Are we going to use this building and this facility to its purpose, entertain clients, have meetings here? And we all had to really own up to it and make sure that we were doing it. And so that was probably the other time where we were a little bit scared, but 4 or 5 months in, this building has paid for itself time and time again. It's
Nice.
a really cool spot, as you've been. It's a cool
Yep.
spot to come and hang and have a customer meeting, and it makes it all worthwhile when you survive those tough times, and they make the good times, the easy times, that much more enjoyable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So are you, I mean, with that in mind, right? Are you basically, I mean, is it a lot of local business right now? Are you doing national, international? Like, what's the plan there?
So it's a mix of local and national. I would say probably 70% local. Again, we talked about Phoenix is home to some very big companies. We've been very lucky to get in touch with a lot of the really big ones, whether we've sought them out or they've sought us out. Those charity organizations we talked about were great inroads for those. When somebody, a VP of a big company, plays in a tournament, loves the stuff they got, they're going to tell the person in their office who orders this kind of stuff to get in touch with us. And it's really worked out for us that way. We've done a good job following those leads and turning those in. And then nationally has been, a couple things have led to some big national companies. And, I don't want to share all their business and all their secrets, but I mean, if you think of like, the biggest soft drink company in the world, they called us and we did some stuff for them. And
Okay.
you think about those relationships and how that come about. And that's pretty exciting when you start dealing with people like that. And
Yeah.
for us, the national stuff is just as easy as local. The only better thing about local is, you talked about creating that genuine marketing experience. You coming in here and getting to sit down with a guy who's a world-class graphic designer and help build your own product marries you to that process. And you're so excited for it to come that's kind of the experience we've created with this building is come in, if it's after 12, let's have a cocktail. Let's design your stuff. We can shoot it up and cast it on any of the TVs. You can watch the design process happen, move this here, change that color, and you own that process. You own
Right.
that product. So that's been a really good thing for us, and our clients love the experience. They're more invested in it, and I think that once they see how easy it is, they never go back to the generic black polo with their logo on the chest again.
Right, right. Yeah, so and now, I mean, I'll switch gears a little bit because you personally like have a good story here too. As far as, we touched on going away from working from somebody for somebody and, jumping and taking this risk, right? So talk a little bit about that like, for many years working in sales and, I mean, sales is also not it's not like you're getting a guaranteed paycheck all the time, but it's definitely not the risk of I don't have an employer. I'm going to go start my own business. So talk about that transition and what that was like for you. Again, having a family, have a wife, like what was that like?
Yeah, so I mean, 3 kids in now, man. I mean, I got the full household. It's belief in yourself, obviously proof of concept. Unless you've got some deep pockets backing you, I would always say do it in your free time, do it nights and weekends until it makes sense. You've got to have a pipeline. If tomorrow, if Neverland didn't have a pipeline, we'd all be sweating pretty good right now.
Yeah.
But we have a pipeline. We know what's coming up in May, June, July. We know we're going to be solid. Obviously, being as we're pretty event heavy. Q1 and Q4 in Arizona are much stronger than Q2 and Q3 because of the weather when it comes to events. That's where the corporate stuff comes in. But, making that risk is betting on yourself. And you've got
Yeah.
to believe that you're willing to put in the work and turn over the rocks and find the treasure underneath. You've got to be willing to lay that down and work on that. And, yeah, I mentioned James DeMullen when we were talking about influencers. Every interview that guy gives involves asking people, have you ever been broke before? And the one
Right.
thing you learn about almost every single entrepreneur that they hit rock bottom at some point, financially rock bottom.
Yep.
Um, and had to pivot and had to learn. And you've got to be willing to take that risk and put it on yourself. And thankfully, having a good sales career gave me a little bit of a cushion, and I was able to, make some moves and do some things to make sure that I was, able to take this step. But it all comes down to confidence. It comes down to how hard you're willing to work, how you're willing to collaborate, what you're willing to learn.
Yep.
If you're not evolving and learning, and I'm picking Nick's brain all the time on why he does X, Y, and Z design wise, so that I can understand that to better push that on the clients. And I'm picking Sid's brain about why our P&L looks this way, or why do we pay, why do we do our accounts payable X, Y, and Z. He does the back end stuff, and I want to learn that too, because I want to have all those tools for whoever knows what's next. And
right.
God forbid one of them gets hit by a bus and I got to pick up some slack, or it's just another opportunity where I can lend some expertise or kind of my hustle. I've always been okay with the hustle and with the grind and going out and doing that. Everything for me leads back to relationships. If I can get you to like me, I'll find something to sell you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of always been the way I've been. I try to be a likable person that people want to be
Sure.
around, and we'll figure out how we can make some money together.
Right. Well, one of the other interesting things too is when you talk about entrepreneurship and like, people taking risks and this and that, the other big thing is that, you got to be like comfortable being uncomfortable. I know it's kind of like a cliche thing, but like there's people that I know that like if $100 out of place, it's like, the world is ending. Whereas I feel like there's just this thing with entrepreneurs that's more of like, we'll figure it out, right? It's always problem solving. It's always putting out fires. Like I'm not going to sit here and, lose my thing, shut down my business over one messed up order, over one, you know what I mean? And so I think that's really important. And then there's also just the idea that the confidence and it's almost to a point of arrogance. I hear people say it all the time, but like the confidence to just be like, I know I'm going to be okay. Especially when we're in a world of people that they don't know what the hell they're doing either. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people out there that like I've met and they don't even know what their books look like, but somehow they're doing $200,000 a month, right? Like
No
it's
doubt.
so it's just the idea that I think it is scary, it is a risk, and you just got to make that leap. But with like, with you got wife, 3 kids, like that's definitely a lot more risky, right?
I look at it like this. I didn't know how to be a husband. I figured that out. I didn't know how to be a dad. I figured that out. And as long as you're not willing to mess those things up, everything else should be, if you lose a business, you crash a car, you can replace all those things,
Yep.
right? It's the people in your life and the things you truly care about. But it's funny that you mentioned that. They always say at weddings or at baby showers or whatever, like write some advice for the new person. And my advice is always, you don't know anything until it happens to you.
Yep.
And you can read a million books on how to be a dad or how to run a business, and until you dive in a little bit, or at least get your foot wet with an internship or something,
Yep.
You're not going to understand the pressure or the timelines are the biggest thing. You
Yep.
can't get time back, and everybody says that. But it's true. If you miss an order or you miss something and they don't get it on time and their event sucks because of it, you got to own it and you've got to
Right.
take it. And that's where we get stressed is, man, we're, supposed to have the polos for that order, the hats for that order. And we've got to drop them off, to this company on Wednesday and they're getting delivered Monday. I'm watching that UPS truck like a hawk all morning, making sure that he's not making any detours. So it's stress comes and goes. But at the end of the day, man, believing in yourself and learning that evolving process of talking to people who have done it before. I played golf last week with one of the guys who was who started up or was part of starting up True Links, and they do golf shoes, they do really good stuff, and we started talking and rapping, and I'm learning things that they did, and it was just fascinating to me. I could have talked about it all day, but everybody in entrepreneurs are a weird community because I bled and sweat to learn that, but I'll tell you that over a cup of coffee.
Sure.
I'll share that information, and I've yet to run into somebody who won't.
Yeah, I think too that like if you're serious about it, if you're gonna willing to put in the time and everything like that, you'll find that like finding a mentor or finding somebody to like work with you or at least help you a little bit. And again, maybe they're not going to sit there and handhold you through the whole thing, but you take a little bit from one person, a little bit from another person. Like I think that's really important. And I've always said, when I'm asking questions or I'm being inquisitive, it's not because I'm trying to be annoying and I'm not like trying to steal your business or anything like that. I just want to, I'm a very curious person and want to know, like I'm all about education and like ongoing learning, you know what I mean? So I think like you said, finding somebody or just digging in and diving in is really, really an important part of that journey, whether you're starting a business, starting a new role, anything, right? The idea of mentorship is paramount. I just think it's so important to your development, both personally and professionally.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, find somebody who understands what you're trying to do and is going to help you along the way. And you might find some sneaky people that are going to try to take something from you, but I think the risk is worth it to attach yourself to people that have either done it before, are going through it at the same time, and share ideas. You know, ideas, it never hurts to share ideas, and obviously protect your IP if you've got a billion
Yeah.
dollar idea. But I don't think anybody's sitting back there going, I don't know where to start, a clothing company. It's, first of all, find somebody who can make the clothing. Unless you're going to buy
Right.
a factory, find somebody who can make the clothing and figure it out from there. Our ideas are just how to market it better, how to get in front of more people. That's really where we push. Our push is always, how do we get in front of this group? How do we get in front of these folks? What do we market to let people know? Because it's not easy to explain the full customization process. We still get people reaching out to us. Hey, I saw someone with your hoodie. What do you have? I want to put my logo on it. It's like, it's not really how we do things. We
Right.
design the hoodie for you. So it's hard to convey that through a 30-second Instagram reel. But we're starting to narrow it down and get a little bit better at it, and hopefully
Yeah.
we can find a bigger target audience as we go.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, from that perspective, when you're saying, the scale piece of it, right? Talk a little bit about what it's like, with the customization element, because it's so much easier to scale if I just, I buy 100,000 units and we just sell them, right? So talk a little bit about customization and like anybody who's trying to, again, whether it be, I've seen a lot of people have a lot of success, like bachelor, bachelorette type stuff, right? Like whether it's a t-shirt, a hat, whatever, but people getting married every day, bachelor and bachelorette parties happen every day. So like customization is becoming a bigger thing because, like you said, people don't want to just have this generic shirt, hat, polo, whatever. They want something that they can tell a story about. Talk about how customization's been for you. I mean, it could be good, it could be bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as far as bachelor and bachelorette parties go, we require a little higher minimum than that, unless you have 50 groomsmen. But for us, it's, if you're going to make 50 or more, 100 or more of something, don't go and buy that high end golf shirt and have somebody slap a logo on it. It's not going to be uniquely you. You're going to
Yep.
run into somebody. You can go to any golf shop in the country and find and I love these brands, so I'm not saying bad, a Grayson shirt that's the same Grayson shirt that has the Torrey Pines logo on it, has the Pebble Beach logo on
Right.
it, has the Butler National logo on it. Right? Great shirt, but it's not unique to them. I
Right.
would rather go and find a shirt that's Torrey Pines, something that we could do, where it's got either some of the cool elements of Torrey Pines in the pattern. And that's, kind of one of these things where it comes to these corporate businesses, the same thing. Everybody has that black Nike polo with their company's logo on it. And you see
Yeah.
that polo, and the first thing you think that resonates with you is Nike, because it's one of the most recognizable brands in the
Yeah.
world. Well, we don't want to make a Nike polo with your logo on it. We want to make a, Colin Jordan polo. We want
Right.
it to be uniquely yours. It's a one of one. And yeah, it says Neverland on the back, but our whole motto with the custom stuff is your brand first. We want you to say, hey, that polo is amazing, and then find out who buys it, or who makes it rather, and go from there. So whether it's a special event, you're doing Monte Carlo night for your charity, and we could do poker chips or whatever it might be on the polo. It's unique to that event. It's specific for your company or your organization. It is not also, it's not a plus one. It's a
Right.
one of one. And the process is not as difficult as you think. It's a really easy process, and it really resonates with your supporters or your employees or your clients when they get that item and they realize, number one, the time you put into it, and number two, the quality of the item is a lot better than what you get at your local print shop.
Yep, absolutely. And again, I think there's a lot of value that I know, obviously we've all grown as young men, but like went to Joseph A. Bank for my first suit when I was like out of high school or, just in college. And then you get older and like, there's something to be said about, again, having that customization, having something that like you're proud of, something that I can tell a story. People ask me about it. So like, and again, I'm not breaking the bank for some like Italian custom made,
Not
with
yet.
the snake skin this and the blah, but like still having a nice like custom suit that is your pattern and you picked out the stitching and you picked out, there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of, again, there's a storytelling element to it. I just think overall customization is something that I think will continue to grow, and it's going to be a continued market that the total addressable market expands, especially as we have so many people that are trying to do this quick, cheap, easy, buy off of Amazon type of stuff. I think that pendulum is going to swing back to creating like a cool, custom, experiential type of consumer experience, if you will.
Without question. And we like to tailor that. I mean, it's the reason we have the building, it's the experience. We want you to come in, sit down with us, help us build your brand. We want to elevate your brand. Don't just
Right.
think about, I got to give 100 polos to my employees for this trade fair we have coming up. Think about the fact that if they wear this to happy hour later, someone might ask them, what's that company? What do they do? I need one of those. It's something that they want to wear, something that they're comfortable in. I mean, I can't tell you how many jobs I had in college where I had to wear, I'm a big dude, and I
Yeah.
had to wear some uncomfortable polos that I didn't want to be in. And I couldn't wait to get off work and rip them off. I wasn't going straight to happy hour. I was going home to change, then going to happy hour. And, you think about it, you want your people in your stuff. It's a way to elevate your brand. And, if you look at cost, it's not that much different, and you get to own the process, which is really cool.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, so where are we going to see you next, or how do people engage with you? Like, what's the best way to be part of this Neverland Country Club?
Go to neverlandcc.com, go to yourbrandfirst.com, and you can see some examples of what we do. I mean, we're all over the valley. We've got some stuff coming up in California and Connecticut and Pennsylvania. Over the summer, we're going to try to get out of the heat and go do some things. But if you see us, come say hey. If you want to stop by the warehouse, I pretty much live here. We're up at the Scottsdale Airport. Come by, check out the stuff, have a conversation. But we're everywhere now. We're trying to get bigger and bigger, and we appreciate all the help from the valley and our group of friends and getting us there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it, telling the story. Everybody, I'm sure, will be on the lookout for Neverland now, and hopefully I'll see you soon. I'll probably get up to the office here pretty quick.
I'll be here for the next little bit. Come on, stop by.
All right, sounds good, brother.
Thanks, Colin.